Hello again. This your intern girl from the spirit world. Well, this is one of my favorite fascinations I had over for years. It's zombie movies, and I'm gonna keep it real and 100. I saw a whole lot of zombie movies from the time I was a child up until Resident Evil. And of course, later on in the years, I stopped doing it because there was something about them. Like, why are we fascinated with undead folks? Why is there movies about undead people all the time? Why are they almost mindless and they get mutated? Especially that show, The Last of Us. They get mutated. They start losing their mind, chewing on other people, infecting people. They become monstrous. And I remember watching Night of the Living Dead, 1, 2, 3, 4, how many of them, and other zombie movies I can't even think of. One of my favorite zombie movies was Resident Evil. Yes, I saw 8. I repent of it now in the name of Jesus. But I used to love me some Resident Evil about some T-virus that got open and all of a sudden, and I was just wondering why, Lord, why is always a virus or something? Somebody doing. And it releases some type of virus. And they got some in all cultures. And I've seen so many. I'm like, Lord, no ma'am. And I'm like, Lord, what is this fascination with The Walking Dead? It's another show. What is this fascination with zombie movies? You know, what is the spirit? What's the intel on that? Because I told you I asked a bunch of questions. Because some stuff you know now, especially songs and other stuff, you ask God, really, what does that really mean? And so when he had me look, a little bit about The Last of Us, which is a show about some type of infection of fungi, and it causes people to mutate and become zombies, and it's based on some real fungi, and based on something that's really in the earth that can mutate. But in this fictional account, it can mutate and change, people into stuff that, that's not, ungodly and demonic. And yeah, I'm pretty much going ahead of the game on that. So this particular, and the Lord said that's a spirit. And it's not a sense where, and there's different cultures that can create the zombie effect through drugs. I remember The Serpent and the Rainbow. I remember I saw that movie about, yes, I'm telling my age, 1,000 years ago, and didn't realize in different cultures where they, practice other stuff, there's particular drugs can then make you look like you undead. It's also, the Lord said, a state of being mindless, a state of being dead spiritually, and sometimes dead naturally. There's no life in you. And I was always asking the Lord, what is about this people fascination about supposed being lifeless? Undead, like vampires, craving to hurt people. And I Am Legend is another example of one based on some plague. It's always based on some plague, somebody concocting stuff. And Lord said that in the conspiracy realm, some of that stuff is true. They are trying to create different viruses, different things to control mankind or get them to be mutated either into super soldiers, super fighters, or people they can use to do different things in the earth that's not of God, or to sabotage and hinder. So that is the underlying. They're always doing stuff, That's why they say, you got to come against the principalities, rulers of darkness. In Ephesians 6, rulers of darkness are wicked people in the earth. And the wicked people on the earth are always concocting some viruses, concocting some stuff to cause annihilation, cause either genocide, annihilation of a certain group of culture, super group of people, certain people in society, or they're there to control or have some type of weapon of warfare. Their own warfare, not the warfare of the Lord, but warfare to kill, steal, and destroy. And zombie is a type of spiritual deadness. When we have people, what they want us to be is mindless. That's why they put stuff in our food, they want us to be mindless, sick. They want us to be monstrous in our spirit with some type of disease or something. They want us to, to do different things, do injections and stuff like that, so we can become literally spiritually undead, spiritually dead, the walking dead. And that's the goal of the enemy, to kill, steal, and destroy. That's also the goal of all the other principalities, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. They want to make us mindless. They want to make us like we're just listening and just obeying. They want to inject stuff in us. So a lot of that stuff is not always, make believe and, things like that, like, fiction. Some of that has truth to it. And so God told me in the sense of it's a demonic conspiracy to really deaden people. get people to the point where they're not hearing, receiving God, hearing, receiving instruction. They're, dead in their spirit. There's no life. Just like Ezekiel 37, where he had to prophesy to the dead bones. They want us to walk around as the living dead, literally. Like Night of the Living Dead. We're mindless. We're working on our instinct. We're working on our flesh. We're allowing demons to take full control. So he told me in the sense that it's not really like literally you won't see somebody looking like, a zombie. But it said it's the spiritual effect that they want people to be. And if they got to use a virus, if they got to use some fungus, if they got to use something in the earth, they got to use some technology, got to use some injection. If they got to use some type of stamp, that's where the mark of the beast may come from. Whatever they can do to get you dead, a walking dead. Where they can control you. They can let whatever is inside you control you. Where you have no life. You have no prosperity. Your soul is literally bound up by spirits. Bound up by bondage. Bound up by sickness. Bound up by disease. And that's a zombie spirit. That's a zombie effect. That is what they want us to be. That's why I'm like, why people are so fascinated with people all of a sudden getting bitten. And this came from, I'm going to tell you now, came from a movie I saw a long time ago. They came out. I don't know why they gonna come out with 28 years later. And this what brought back into my remembrance all these zombie movies, because I saw the first 28 days 20 years ago. And then I saw 28 weeks. That's when I was in my zombie mood. That's when I saw zombies after zombie movies, other zombies, there's zombies. Yeah, but then they're gonna bring this one back. And of course I had to go through TikTok and check out the synopsis and all that stuff. And it's a whole, once again, They got some more zombies that still hang around at 20 years later. And all this started from some experiment in the lab. And I think from somewhere, because I ain't going to take credit for this, they do have a T-virus. I remember I saw that somewhere. And I remember watching Resident Evil saying it was a T-virus that broke out and turned people to zombies. But what they were trying to do is make a super soldier. And of course, yes, I know too much about these. So, the one who played Mila Jovovich, I'm trying to say her name, she was a heroine. She was the protege. See, what they wanted to do with the virus is turn people into super soldiers. But the thing is, it turned them into super demons, super zombies, super monstrosities, and their experiment, trust me, there's a lot of Frankensteins in the science. There's a lot of Frankensteins in that technology. So it's a lot of things they're creating. Look at AI. There's a lot of things they're creating. Don't think all that stuff is just fiction. Some of that stuff has facts. Get it for yourself. Do your research. Ask God for the intel. That's why you take a class. If you want to get your own intel on where God, I stay in my lane. Some stuff, I'm not going to go into because that's not my lane. I'm not into the lanes of other stuff. I stay in the lane God gave me. But anyway, when it comes to the zombie effect, and then even in churches, they want us to be zombies, where we're lifeless, we're dead, we're not receiving the word, we're not praying to God, we're not doing this. They want us dried up like husk. And that we're governed by spirits, we're governed by what the government say, we're governed by what they're telling us to take, and pills and injections, And then another thing, Lord, and I'll talk more about that because, when it comes to taking particular pills and eating stuff, things like that, they're trying to put us so either sick, bound up, or zombied, where we just walking dead, just like the show. And, and when I was watching different ones, especially the different states of The Last of Us, where it's a particular virus, fungi that just mutates you more and more, that there's different, levels of mutation. They want to mutate us. They want us to be mutated and to be demonized, to be, dried up, tangled up, snared, and destroyed. So this is what God gave me on zombie effect, the zombie spirit. It is a spirit of death, spirit of undeadness, spirit of lifelessness, spirit of soullessness. To be literally, your soul is pretty much bound up and tangled up. It's demonized. It's possessed. And however they do the possession, it could be through chemicals. It could be through whatever they try to do to possess and control. They want mindless people. They want mindless folks to do exactly what they say, especially during these end times. So that was my intel on zombies. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, if you have any other insight that you see among this, because the only reason why this came up Is they gonna bring back this movie 20 years later? And I'm like, really, Lord, y'all could have kept that movie 20 years ago. Because I remember I was in the mood and it was good at the time. And when you get high in God, you're like, I'm not watching none of that. Why are we so fascinated with dead, infected folks? That part. So, talk to you later. Make sure you like, subscribe to this channel, and share it.